Hey, Cowboys Nation! Today we are diving headfirst into all the latest buzz surrounding America's team, breaking down every angle of the roster, potential draft moves, and the strategies that could define the upcoming season. There's a lot to unpack, and we are going to go through it piece by piece, giving you a clear sense of how the Dallas Cowboys could shape their team this year. From draft projections to player evaluations, every discussion point matters. And the goal here is to provide a perspective that combines insight, analysis, and the excitement that comes with building a contender in the NFL. The draft is always full of surprises, and understanding the nuances behind every potential pick can help fans anticipate not just who is coming in, but how they might fit into the larger plan for the team. Starting with the early mock drafts, the Cowboys are projected to pick at number 12, a position that immediately creates questions about strategy and priorities at this stage. Mock drafts are inherently speculative, but they provide a lens into what teams could be considering. Analysts are focusing on areas such as the offensive line, defensive backfield, and positions that might require immediate reinforcement. The balance between acquiring a player ready to contribute immediately and selecting someone with long-term upside is always a delicate decision, and for the Cowboys, it is no different. Every pick at the top of the first round carries weight, influencing the flow of subsequent selections and shaping the roster in both visible and subtle ways. A cornerback emerges as a key focus at this spot, particularly one who can make an instant impact on the secondary in mock scenarios. Players like Colton Hood from Tennessee are highlighted as potential selections, with the idea being that he could step in quickly and provide depth, while also having the physical traits to develop into a long-term solution. Hood brings size, skill, and versatility, which makes him an appealing choice for a team looking to protect its defensive backfield. However, the evaluation process is not just about raw ability. The Cowboys coaching staff must weigh how a player like Hood fits into existing schemes, whether he complements current starters, and how his style translates to the speed and complexity of NFL offenses. This kind of analysis demonstrates how a single draft pick can influence the trajectory of multiple positions on the roster beyond cornerbacks. Other positions are drawing attention in these early discussions. Edge rushers, for example, are critical in shaping the defensive front, and players such as Kendrick Falk from Auburn present an interesting mix of talent and potential. Falk possesses the size, athleticism, and physical tools to challenge opposing offensive lines consistently. Standing at 6'6" and around 185 pounds, he has the presence and reach to create disruption, yet concerns about consistency and production linger, making him a player whose impact might vary depending on how he is deployed. For the Cowboys, adding a developmental edge rusher could be a calculated risk. While he may not immediately replicate the production of a veteran starter, the upside of integrating a player like Falk into the rotation could pay dividends over time if managed effectively. The draft strategy is further complicated by the fluidity of early selections. If wide receivers or other key position players are taken before the Cowboys make their move, adjustments must be considered. Teams often face the decision of whether to trade, pivot to a different position, or remain patient and select the best available talent at their assigned pick. This dynamic emphasizes the importance of flexibility and foresight. The first dozen picks in the draft are rarely predictable, and the movement of other teams directly impacts the options available at number 12. For Dallas, monitoring the trajectory of top prospects across multiple positions is essential for maintaining strategic leverage and ensuring that each pick contributes both to immediate needs and long-term roster building. As the mock draft continues, names beyond the first selection begin to influence planning. Safeties, versatile defensive backs, and emerging edge players all factor into the larger picture. Players such as Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo or Jordan Tyson at the collegiate level may not be immediate targets for the Cowboys' first pick, but their projected selections affect which top-tier options remain on the board. This ripple effect demonstrates how draft strategy is about more than individual choices. It's about anticipating the chain reaction created by each pick and positioning the team to maximize both talent acquisition and roster balance. Fans often underestimate this layer of complexity, but front office decision-making involves weighing multiple scenarios simultaneously and preparing for contingencies that could arise during the live draft. Another major consideration is the presence of multiple first-round picks. Managing the selections requires balancing immediate roster needs with the potential for high-upside players who may require development, while one pick could address a cornerback need. The other might be an opportunity to secure an edge rusher, a versatile offensive weapon, or another player capable of stepping in quickly. The interplay between plug-and-play contributors and developmental prospects is critical, especially for a team like the Cowboys, which already has established starters in key positions. Evaluating risk versus reward, determining positional value, and projecting long-term growth are central to ensuring that both first-round selections reinforce the roster in meaningful ways. Wide receivers remain a topic of particular interest because their selection has a cascading effect on the draft board. When top receivers go off the board early, it changes the availability of talent in other positions and can create opportunities or force strategic pivots. For Dallas, keeping an eye on the wide receiver market is crucial for determining whether a trade might be necessary or whether to prioritize a different position that offers a higher immediate impact. Elite receivers can reshape offensive schemes, influence quarterback performance, and open running lanes, which is why monitoring their movement is as strategic as evaluating defensive prospects. In a draft where every choice reverberates across the board, this level of attention can make the difference between a strong draft and one that leaves gaps in the lineup. Even beyond the marquee picks, evaluating players like Jordan Tyson, Hakeem Mazador, and Carnell Tate adds nuance to the team's draft planning. Each prospect brings specialized skills, whether in pass rush, coverage, or offensive versatility, and their projected movement on the draft board influences the options the Cowboys have at number 12 and beyond. Understanding these interdependencies is critical for building a roster that balances immediate contribution with potential growth. Drafting is not simply about selecting the most talented player available. It is about context, fit, and the ability to project how a player will thrive in a professional environment. For fans, this behind-the-scenes calculation is just as exciting as seeing the player on the field because it shapes the team for seasons to come. Managing roster balance between veterans and incoming talent is another layer of strategy that emerges from early draft analysis. Bringing into first-round selections allows the Cowboys to reinforce critical areas, but miscalculations could leave gaps that are harder to address in later rounds. Evaluating prospects like Hood and Falk involves projecting both immediate readiness and developmental trajectory, weighing how their arrival complements established starters while adding depth and flexibility to the team. The stakes are high, and each selection is a reflection of the front office's philosophy, willingness to take calculated risks, and vision for sustaining success in a competitive league. Drafting at this level is about crafting a roster that is prepared for the present, without sacrificing future opportunity. Trades and strategic maneuvering are also central to draft planning. If certain prospects remain available beyond expectations, or if other teams make unexpected moves, the Cowboys can leverage their positions to maximize value. Moving up or down in the draft is not merely transactional. It is an exercise in foresight and adaptability. A well-timed trade can secure a player who fills a critical role immediately, while also preserving flexibility to address other needs in later rounds. For a team with ambitions of contending immediately, the ability to react to draft dynamics with both precision and agility is a competitive advantage that separates proactive franchises from those who are simply reacting to circumstance. Finally, the early analysis of the draft underscores the tension between evaluating college performance and projecting NFL readiness. College success, athletic traits, and measurable performance provide the foundation for assessment, but translating those factors into professional impact requires careful study, insight, and sometimes intuition. For the Cowboys, the focus is on selecting players who can contribute effectively in their first season while also growing into key roles over time. Hood and Falk exemplify this balance between immediate impact and developmental potential, and understanding their fit within the roster, the schemes, and the team culture is central to planning a draft that strengthens both the present and the future of America's team. As we move deeper into draft analysis, Cowboys Nation, the focus shifts to what happens immediately after the first round and how the selections at number 12 and later can shape the roster in more nuanced ways. Once the initial pick addresses a primary need, such as strengthening the cornerback position, attention turns to identifying players who can complement the existing lineup while addressing gaps that might not be immediately obvious. It is here that the intricacies of draft strategy become evident. The front office must weigh positional depth, player versatility, and potential matchups against the team's philosophy, ensuring that each addition not only fills a spot but also contributes to the broader vision of building a contender capable of competing at the highest level. Edge rushers remain a central consideration in this phase of planning. The projected selection of Kendrick Fogg from Auburn exemplifies the challenges inherent in balancing potential with readiness. Fogg's combination of height, athleticism, and reach makes him a formidable presence on the field, but his previous season statistics show variability in production that cannot be ignored. The Cowboys must assess how his skill set fits into a defensive scheme that already includes multiple pass rushers, determining whether he will serve primarily as a rotational threat or if he can evolve into a foundational piece. The decision is not simply about raw talent. It involves evaluating timing, fit, and how his introduction affects the dynamics of both the defensive line and the secondary. In addition to evaluating individual players, the Cowboys must also consider the cascading effects of selections made by other teams. As wide receivers, safeties, and edge rushers come off the board, the landscape shifts dramatically, creating both challenges and opportunities. A player who was initially projected as a first-round selection could slip, presenting the Cowboys with a chance to secure a high-upside talent without sacrificing strategic positioning. Conversely, a top target being selected earlier than expected may force a pivot to another position, requiring the team to maintain flexibility and an adaptable mindset. This fluidity is what makes draft planning both fascinating and complex, and it is a critical reason why front office acumen is so heavily scrutinized during these weeks leading up to the event. Wide receiver projections continue to play a significant role in shaping strategy. The Cowboys have historically relied on elite pass catchers to maximize quarterback performance and stretch opposing defenses, so understanding how the top receivers are moving on the draft board is vital. Even if a team does not immediately select a wide receiver in the first round, the presence or absence of top-tier talent influences decisions across multiple positions. A receiver who remains available after several picks could prompt a trade or a strategic adjustment, highlighting the importance of timing and opportunity. Evaluating which players offer immediate impact versus developmental potential becomes an exercise in foresight, particularly in a league where a single standout playmaker can alter the course of a season. Safeties and versatile defensive backs also warrant close attention. Players like Emmanuel McNeil-Warren exemplify the type of talent that can provide immediate depth while contributing to long-term roster flexibility. His coverage skills, athleticism, and football intelligence allow for more complex defensive schemes and greater adaptability in both base and sub-package formations. For the Cowboys, securing a player who can rotate between positions or contribute in multiple ways is invaluable, as it strengthens the roster while providing insurance against injuries or underperformance in key spots. The presence of these types of athletes on the board also affects the selection of cornerbacks and edge rushers, as teams must prioritize based on both positional scarcity and relative impact. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. The Dallas Cowboys may be facing one of the most turbulent periods in recent memory, after a bombshell moment during a team press conference left fans and analysts reeling. Quarterback Joe Milton III, visibly frustrated and raising his voice in front of the media, reportedly declared, "I'm tired of losing," a statement that has sparked widespread speculation about his future with the franchise. Sources close to the team suggest that Milton's outburst was not just a venting moment, but a clear signal that he is seeking an immediate trade, potentially shaking up the Cowboys roster and strategy moving forward. Milton, who joined the Cowboys amid high expectations, has been navigating a difficult season, with performances that some analysts describe as inconsistent under immense pressure. While the quarterback has had flashes of brilliance, critics argue that a combination of team injuries, coaching decisions, and offensive line struggles has left him in a precarious position. This public demand for a trade, however, is a rare and bold move for a quarterback of his stature, and could indicate deeper unrest within the locker room. Inside sources indicate that management is now facing an urgent dilemma. Do they attempt to calm the situation internally, or seriously explore trade options before the season progresses further? The ramifications could be huge. A quarterback trade in the NFL is never simple, and with the salary cap, draft picks, and team chemistry on the line, any decision could redefine the Cowboys' trajectory for years. Speculation is rife about potential landing spots for MILTON. With several teams rumored to be monitoring the situation closely, fans have taken to social media, with hashtags trending that reflect both support for MILTON and frustration with the Cowboys' struggles. Analysts suggest that this moment could either catalyze a necessary shake-up in Dallas or mark a turning point in MILTON's career, potentially leaving the team scrambling to find a replacement in a market that is notoriously competitive. Whatever happens, one thing is clear: the Cowboys season just became far more unpredictable, and all eyes are now on the front office to see how they respond to one of the most explosive statements from a player in recent team history. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.